So that means his dick, I'm looking at the cover art, I'm looking at the poster. Yeah. His dick was out of the suit. His dick was hanging out a hole as one of the others.
There you go. Not his fault. I rest my case, Your Honor.
Not his fault.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass. We're gonna die.
Welcome back to Shat The Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
Each week, we take a look back in time to decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, the number of wipes each movie takes to get off your respective butts. So, thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all the information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you would like to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are you reviewing tonight?
Gene, tonight sadly marks the end of the month of Rob H. Rob H. has blessed us with some wonderful commissions, some great letters and memories of films. And tonight he's finishing it off with a bang, a movie that we should have done a long time ago. And he wrote in and wanted us to commission the 1984 action comedy film, Top Secret. And he was kind enough to send us an email again. We don't get to hear his voice, which is kind of sad, but I can imagine him speaking to us in his very sophisticated British accent.
And to round out the month of Rob, he wrote in and said, "Morning, gents. I can't quite believe we've reached my fourth and final film from this batch of commissions. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing my choices reviewed by you both over the past few weeks, and I'm really looking forward to your thoughts on this one. If I'm being honest, I can't remember exactly when or where I first saw Top Secret. It must be well over 25 years ago now, and I'm guessing it was during one of my many trips to my local Blockbuster back in the day. I was lucky enough to have won about 500 yards from my mom and dad's house, and popping in to see what was new or available became part of my weekly, if not daily, routine. To say I was a regular would be an understatement. I may have said this before, but I genuinely miss those Blockbuster days. Browsing the shelves and picking up a film for the next night felt like a proper event, a meaningful experience I really cherished as a teenager and young adult. I'm definitely sounding old now. Holding a VHS and later a DVD as you walked home somehow built anticipation. You hoped it would make you laugh, cry, or even stick with you for life. Surely that's what movies are all about. Streaming is convenient, sure, but I'd go back to the Blockbuster experience every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Anyway, I digress. Back to Top Secret. At the time, I was told it was very much in the same vein as Airplane and Police Squad / Naked Gun, both of which I loved. That silly, ridiculous, almost slapstick style of comedy always had me laughing out loud, and they were films I happily rewatched over the years. So in hindsight, this was probably an easy choice. Top Secret is completely bonkers. Silly, goofy, outlandish, and totally off the wall. The memories that stuck with me all these years were Val Kilmer, a parachuting fireplace, a cow smoking a cigarette, and cracking a safe, and of course, latrine being shouted every time a certain character appeared on screen. The film stars a very young Val Kilmer in one of his early leading roles. Even back then, I remember thinking he had real screen presence, looks, and talent. Someone destined to be a big star. Sure enough, just 2 years later, he turned up as Iceman in Top Gun and shot into superstardom. Like everyone else, I'm a huge Top Gun fan, but beyond that, I've always been a massive Val Kilmer fan. He was a phenomenal actor, R.I.P., and his performance as Doc Holliday in Tombstone, one of my all-time favorite films, is spellbinding and should have earned him an Oscar. But that's a conversation for another day over a beer. I'd also highly recommend the documentary Val, which covers his life for 40 years. Brilliant, in my opinion. The supporting cast includes Omar Sharif and Peter Cushing, the latter appearing in just one scene, which is filmed entirely backward. Very weird. After this recent rewatch, I'm still debating whether Top Secret lands shoulder to shoulder with Airplane or The Naked Gun. To its credit, it is some genuinely hilarious moments, and they come thick and fast throughout, and I still found myself laughing out loud. The cow scene at the end never fails to get me, and there are plenty of highlights. On the flip side, some of the humor is way out there, and even with my British sense of comedy, a few jokes struggled to land. That said, I really enjoyed it and would happily watch it again. The creators must have been smoking something strong when they came up with some of these gags, but fair play, I'm fully bought in, and I can see why it's stuck in my memory all these years later. It's very much a sit back, switch your brain off, and enjoy kind of movie. You'll laugh, you'll cringe, and you'll tilt your head thinking, what the actual... But that's what makes it memorable. For me, it's a 2.25 white movie. Hope you enjoy the ride, Big D and Gene. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this one. As always, thanks for everything you do. The pod just keeps getting better. And Gene, I am loving the clips on Facebook and Instagram too. It's great to see you both doing your thing and clearly having so much fun. I'll say farewell for now, as this is my last commission for a while, at least until the next 4-pack kicks in later this year. That said, I'm about to send over my next batch of requests, so prepare yourselves. I've got a long list that needs reviewing, and the commissions will keep on coming. Until then, keep up the awesome work, fellas, and thanks for making this my go-to podcast every week. Cheers, Rob H., the UK one. P.S.
Rob, you are a proper gentleman. Thank you very much for the support. And your letter here, it's got me thinking. You know, we always think how have things changed from when we grew up, and I really think he hit on something. We've lost something. The Blockbuster experience was more than just going to an expert, asking for advice, walking around and looking at the cover boxes. Once you picked a movie, you were invested, you were done. You would sit and watch it. And as a result, you would find hidden gems that would never see the light of day today. And I find myself being guilty of it, so it's not just the younger generation. If a movie doesn't grab me on Netflix or on the Plex server or whatever, within the first couple minutes, I'm gone. Back in the day, you would sit there, you would experience it, you would give it a chance. And so many times you would find a gem that today just vanish.
What's counterintuitive to me is I'm not a movie rewatcher. Like, I don't rewatch movies now. But back then, if you rented something on Friday and it wasn't back until like Monday, you might watch it a couple times because you paid for it. It's there. It's not going to cost you anything extra. So you'd see it, and then maybe you'd tell a friend about it, and then they'd come over. And that's the other thing that's so wild to me is the lack of, I guess, options of things to do. It was like hanging out with a friend. And it's not just because we were young. I saw adults doing this too. I saw my uncles doing this. You would just call somebody, dude, I got this great movie. I just watched it. You got to come over. Let's watch it again together. Bring over 6 pack.
Instead, now you sit there with your significant other, your friends, and spend 30 minutes going through and just surfing and everything. I think you've talked about this before, that now Netflix and a lot of the movies are produced to be consumed in the background. And as a result, they're dumbed down and they continue to just beat into your head. Who are the characters' names? What is going on? I saw a clip of the new Matt Damon and Ben Affleck movie. It's called The Rip.
Matt Damon.
They say it's a supercut of them saying the rip in the movie. Hey, we got to get the rip. Yeah, what time is the rip? Are we getting the rip? Who's got that rip? Where's the rip? They say it like 40 times, and they're saying each other's names, and we have lost something. Rob, thank you for writing in, and now you got me down, wishing for those old days, sitting on the porch with Gene Lyons, getting out the Betamax and watching a movie on Friday.
Now, Big D, I saw you twitch a little bit when Rob mentioned the Blockbuster manager.
No, I just...
Did that tap into something there? Bring back some old memories?
I did have I missed an opportunity where I was convinced that a couple of my managers, an adult and his man and his fiance, had tried to bring me into a relationship, and I just missed all the signs back then. But yeah, it's a brave move to date the manager's daughter. I wonder if there was any free rentals involved. Did he get to go into the adult section in the back of the store? What were some of the perks?
Yeah, I don't think that's exactly how it happened. Like, hey, take my daughter out now. You can watch porn.
He probably got free rentals.
Oh, he definitely didn't have to rewind.
Like sexual.
Yeah.
Double entendre.
All right, Big D. What'd you think when Rob commissioned this movie?
Man, I was a little worried because when this commission came up, I'll be honest, I'd not always been the biggest fan of parodies. I liked Airplane, I think, more than you did. I liked The Naked Gun, but the rapid-fire machine gun movies that are like joke, 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 a lot of times they either fly by my head. I don't enjoy them. I feel like it's the lowest hanging fruit. It is dumb sight gags, dumb physical humor. I don't like Mel Brooks. And then on top of it, compound that with the fact that Roger Roper always said this was one of his favorite movies and that he loved it. So I'm combining now my dislike of the genre, Roger's passionate plea to review it, and that combination had me prepared for a long night of eye-rolling, checking the runtime, and questioning our choice of genre for a podcast. But the movie turned out to be more of a treat than I had expected. And this is exactly going back to my blockbuster thought. Without the podcast, there is no fucking chance in hell that I'm watching this movie even long enough to get the fucking skeet surfing. So for that, thank you very much, Rob.
Yeah, Big D, this movie came out when I was 4 years old, and it's always sort of dangled in the periphery of my memory. I remember it had some Cold War gags and Val Kilmer, but not much else. So going into it, doing this commission for Rob, I fully expected a spy movie with like real genius party vibes, right? Val Kilmer, party guy, but he's a spy, so he's cool. And that did not seem super appealing. Instead, I think we got a better version of Airplane. I famously did not care for Airplane all that much. And you mentioned that kind of vibe that the parody movies give you. I think it's kind of like when you go to a stand-up comedy show, right? People got different kinds of comics they like. And there's the guys like the Gallaghers and the Carrot Tops, and that's never worked for me. I don't think that's funny at all. But I like a Mitch Hedberg. I like a George Carlin. And it's not necessarily like Mitch Hedberg, for instance, it's not necessarily smarter comedy. It's the way it's delivered, the way it's packaged works better for me. And so observational comedy is what I like. Parodies make me a little bit nervous, but there are a few like UHF and Top Secret that kind of work.
The one gag that I remembered, and as the movie went on, I know that there was at some point that I watched it, was the guard falling off the tower and hitting the ground and like breaking into 1,000 pieces. As a kid, I thought that was hilarious.
And it's still kind of funny.
I don't know. It is very funny. But there are a lot of those gags, Gene. You said this is more, like you said, observational humor and less Gallagher whacking a watermelon. So for that, I was thankful.
Well, Top Secret is a 1984 action comedy written and directed by Jim Abrams, David Zucker, and Jerry Zucker, and Martin Burke. It stars Val Kilmer in his film debut and Lucy Guttridge alongside a supporting cast including Omar Sharif, Peter Cushing, and Jeremy Kemp. The film parodies various film styles, including Elvis Presley musicals, Cold War spy films, and World War II films. Let's hit the trailer.
Sue. She knows just what to do. Got a girl named Sue. She knows just what to do.
Look, I'm not the first guy who fell in love with a girl he met in a restaurant who then turned out to be the daughter of a kidnapped scientist, only to lose her to a childhood lover who she'd last seen on a deserted island and who turned out 15 years later to be the leader of the French underground.
I know it. It all sounds like some bad movie.
Got a girl named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. Got a girl named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. She rocked me to the east, she rocked me to the west, but she's the girl that I love best. So tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy, tutti frutti, oh Rudy. Oh,
American rock star Nick Rivers travels to East Germany to perform at a cultural festival serving as a diversion for an East German military operation. At a dinner, Nick encounters Hilary Flamand, a member of the local resistance movement who is attempting to avoid the authorities. He pretends to be her date and performs an impromptu song and dance, mistakenly thinking he was asked to do so. The performance is a hit, but infuriates General Streck, the mastermind of the reunification plot.
So I think one of the smartest choices that Top Secret made is they introduced the tone right away. I'm thinking like you. It's going to be some straight face. It's going to be a parody of Cold War movies, spy movies, a lot of espionage. It's going to be thrilling. And it completely subverts my expectation. We do get the introduction to the Nazis. There's some big plan going on. And then without warning, it smash cuts to a beach musical. And it is a musical number that is not just some hack re-envisioning of like an Annette Funicello, like beach blanket bingo party. It is called skeet surfing, okay? And the contrast is immediately jarring because it is a catchy fucking tune. The lyrics are skeet surfing, and it's set to like, if everybody had a surfboard.
Surfing USA.
Surfing USA, right. But they're saying, if everybody had a 12 gauge, and a surfboard too, you'd see him shooting and surfing from here to Malibu because it's totally bitchin', riding waves and blasting pigeons. And it is a large spectacle. There's people at the beach. It is immediately telling me that this movie won't just parody the genre of the spy thriller, but it is going to take on everything. It's just going to bulldoze the comedy, and I'm ready for it.
Big D, you said that it shows up without warning. I beg to differ. There's a buildup to it, which I think is fantastic. You get all the German generals, and they're standing over their like war board or whatever, and they're looking down, and one of them has done the research to get the Nick Rivers album, the record album, he calls it, and he puts it down, and the needle hits, and as it's spinning, they're talking, and then skeet surfing kicks in, and all the generals like turn their heads and look at the record spinning, and then boom, we're on the beach. And even before skeet surfing, which is a banger and so American in its love of bikinis and shotguns, like it took me back to that insane America that we loved, where it was like, yeah, guns and surfing. Fuck yeah, that's awesome, right? We get Omar Sharif. They're on a train. He's fighting against this German thug that's like standing on top of the moving train. It's hurtling toward a low bridge. And you know what's coming. It's a comedy. So it's not going to be a serious outcome, but I'm fully expecting something like Omar Sharif ducks, the German gets knocked off, and Omar Sharif pops his head up and goes, and there's like some boots that are still left there, right? But the guy is gone. Mm-hmm. No, this movie is not playing that. The German, he goes through the bridge. The bridge crumbles. He just bursts through it. And Top Secret already is showing us, just like Rob said, it is more interested in being absurd than being safe. But fast forward to the scene where we get introduced to Hillary. And so Hillary is the love interest of Nick. And they're in this very dark, controlled East German world where you're met on the train by armed men who are checking your papers, and everything feels very controlled. They only do the waltz at the club, you know, but there's Nick and he's here to rock and roll. And she meets him and she says, "You're an American." And I felt something like inside of me that kind of hurt. And she said it with so much hope and so much enthusiasm. Like, you're an American when you were abroad used to meet that you're an ambassador of liberty. You are a person willing to fight for others. You're someone who represents freedom and rock and roll and having fun and skeet surfing, right? While East Germany is shackled by these totalitarian generals. And I can tell you, like, that is not how we're seen anymore. We just got booed at the Olympics. Like, that's who we are now. We're not spreading freedom.
I mean, if you think about it, we are both the product of immigrants.
Yeah.
You know, my grandmother came here from Sicily. So my father is a first generation Italian. My mother immigrated from Sweden. So we are a mix of European heritage, and we are the immigrant story. So I think we have a unique view on it. My parents got together and came here because of the American dream. As we grew up, we would travel and go back to Sweden, and we had a different take on it. We would be embarrassed by the American tourists in Sweden. And my sister and I would try to blend in. And the ultimate compliment was if people spoke to either of us and thought that we were Swedish. Oh, we did it. Because you would see the fucking Americans with their fanny packs and they're running around, speaking loud, interrupting. And it was our goal to try to not be that. When I went to Vanessa's from south of Brazil. And she has relatives that live in Porto Alegre. And Blumenau, where she's from. It's a German city. So when someone would ask me if I was Allemand, which is German, I'd be like, yes. Now that doesn't mean I don't love America, but the idea of America is what people rallied around and what meant something. But the actual Americans that would travel abroad weren't always the best of us.
No, I think that's a very specific pocket of time, though. I think about, you remember Quincy in Dracula? Like the Texan, the cowboy guy in Dracula?
I do. I was thinking more of Quincy, the what was he? He'd work on the dead people with the police. He was a coroner.
On Dracula?
No, well, Quincy was a TV show. Whatever. I'm showing my age. Oh, okay. Quincy MD. That's what I thought.
Got
Sorry.
It.
I thought
you were going to say John Quincy Adams. No, but like the American used to be that rugged individualist that was like, like we were always the violent and loud people. And I'm taking the liberty here of calling myself an American, if I may, people. I was born in Long Island. I've lived here my whole life. I am an American, red-blooded through and through, right? I love my guns. I love my beer. Like that is all part of my identity. But I would say that image of the American, like abroad, loud and whatever, at least you knew, and I think that's what you're saying, it came with some perks, which was this guy sticks up for what's right. They believe in freedom.
Yes.
Like they are cut from a different cloth and try to be, that beacon on the hill, whatever. Point being that I'm starting to notice these things and it kills me a little bit inside because I was like, yeah, it's like in the 80s, American in Germany was like, whoa, cool.
Yeah.
American.
Yeah, we were big brutes. We were cavemen.
Yes,
It's not a pejorative. I'm not saying it was a totally terrible thing, right? We were the sleeping beast. The Germans, you woke us up in World War II and we came and we fucking put our boots on and stomped around Europe, right? Then we went home, went on our horses, went out and smoked cigarettes, and we're like the cousin Eddie of the world. That's what we are, and that's not a bad thing.
And then Roger Roper was like, greatest generation, huh?
You see, in Europe, it's a bunch of fancy lads. That's why. They look at us and they're like, they're not very sophisticated. And for a long time, that was a point of pride. And I think we can get back to that one day, Gene.
I think we can learn a thing or two from the French about protesting, though. They don't fuck around. Like, they'll shut down everything.
No, take away like their vacation time or take away like their hours that they can answer emails. Yeah. They were more pissed at that than they were when the Germans rolled across the Maginot Line.
And moving
Take
on.
away their vacation days.
Great reference to the Maginot Line. Yeah. I think they were just mad that they're like, oh, fuck, we didn't think about that. The forest, eh? Fuck. Nick later sees Hillary at a ballet where she is held at gunpoint by secret police. He accidentally kills a police sergeant and turns himself in so that Hillary can get away. He is taken to prison where he's tortured but does not break. Nick attempts to escape and ends up in the secret prison laboratory of Dr. Paul Flamand, a brilliant scientist developing a device that could destroy the entire NATO submarine fleet as part of the government's plot. The East Germans force him to work by threatening to kill his daughter, Hillary. Nick is recaptured and scheduled for execution.
So in most of the parodies we've done, I realized watching this, there's a common thread. A lot of them are they use sexuality a lot. If you think about even The Naked Gun, ooh, nice beaver, where she's climbing up on the ladder, I think it was Priscilla Presley, or there's a lot of boobs bouncing around an airplane. So it's not unique to Top Secret, but I think Top Secret does it in a different way. They commit to equal opportunity horniness. This isn't just a lot of tits bouncing around and guys looking up girls' skirts. This is across the board, everybody's horny. We get a ballet scene, and it's where where Nick is going to meet Hillary, and you see that there's a fancy lady there. She's got a little binoculars, and she's looking down the stage, and she's very, very proper. And all of a sudden, we get the joke that all of the the men in the ballet have these giant bulges in their pants. And she's just staring at it. And then it elevates to the dancers are straddling or they're actually like tiptoeing across the penises. And it's delivered in such a deadpan, serious, diplomatic way that I was not expecting. And it's nice for the horny ladies to get something here. It is just, and then later on, again, to be even more dirty. And then, Gene, later on, the horniness goes to a place I didn't expect in this. It was not on my bingo card. Nick is in jail, and in comes his agent, manager, political, whatever he is. And he says, Nick, I've tried everything. I went to the embassy. I went to speak to the UN, and nothing's working. I can't make my wife orgasm. And all of a sudden, he pulls out this jackhammer of like the anal intruder, and he just, it's so deadpan delivered as the manager continues to plead the case of getting Nick out, as this giant accessory fisting device is there. And it's so weirdly fair that everybody's going to get their rocks off.
Totally agree. I got to ask, though, talk about the horniness. Did you feel weird at all about Nick serenading a teen girl?
There was a danger in that scene. Yes, yeah. Because he notices that every woman in the crowd is aroused. Every woman is having a difficult time containing their lust for Nick. He pulls up a young girl, and I thought he was going to kiss her. But thankfully, instead, she just died. I think she had a heart attack on stage.
He was holding her awfully close. I had to look up, like, wait, is Nick a teenager? Because he also has, like, this nightmare moment where he thinks he's still in school, is being tortured. I was like, oh, maybe he's a teenager, and I just misinterpreted that. No, he's in his mid-20s in this movie.
Right, but it could also be a commentary on Elvis, because he's an Elvis knockoff.
That's a good point, yeah.
So Elvis had a proclivity for going after very, very young girls, especially in Germany. I think that's where he met Priscilla. So yeah, so Gene, I thought it bordered on it, but thankfully it passed and he didn't do anything. But what I love about this movie, it has some restraint. Most Airplane, what was it, like 100 jokes per minute? Or there was some like record that it had set.
Felt like it, yeah.
And Airplane, Naked Gun, all of those, they try joke, one right after another. They're layered. They don't give you a second to even sit back and absorb what you've seen. And because they're doing that, you miss so much, but also they're not quality jokes. They're throwing everything at the wall, hopefully one or two you'll remember. And I don't like that I'm overwhelmed by the quantity of the jokes and not the quality. Here, the jokes, they're more spread out. Now, I'm not saying this is like a joke every 30 seconds, but they'll drop a joke and they'll let it sit for a second and then they'll move on. But it's just enough. Cedric, you talked about him on Top of the Train, right? Later on, he goes to meet somebody who's pretending to be a souvenir salesman. And he goes off and ends up getting killed in the back of a car. The car then is put into a compactor and squished and mangled. We got to believe that Cedric's dead. Cedric is never coming back again. We've seen him killed. But yet the movie waits until later on when Hillary gets back to her hotel room, and there is Cedric in the middle of a compacted automobile. His little head is out, and the joke is so unexpected, so ridiculous, so just not typically what we would see. I laughed, and I was thankful that the movie was taking time to do things that maybe weren't the most obvious joke.
Now that you mention it, it's neat that Top Secret chose to fold it's like joke origami. It fold like 3 or 4 jokes into one scene. And usually the funniest one isn't the most obvious one. For example, you're talking about Cedric when he comes back to the car, right? There's a scene where Hillary reaches across to the ballet tickets. They're in the glove compartment, right?
Yes.
Of course it would be on his body. And so she has to reach across and her breasts are in his face. And so you see the antenna of the car like extends like an erection, and then there's like a honking sound, right? And all of that is like something that Airplane might do or Naked Gun might do. But what was funny to me about that scene was that she was lubricating him with Hawaiian Punch. There was a funnel with Hawaiian Punch.
Yes.
I don't know why, but that's the funniest thing to me.
And it was that old school can. Where
It was the old school can of Hawaiian Punch.
Oh, you know what it also was? It's because he was coughing. He was so she's doing it to help like wet his whistle. And he's like,
right, but anybody else would do motor oil because he's part car now. No,
Right.
it's Hawaiian Punch. I don't know why. And speaking to those callbacks you were talking about, there were so many risky callbacks in this movie. Like the callback joke about the anal intruder. We get it. It reappears. And the joke is that a married man died happy after he failed to calculate the wattage of an anal jackhammer with a banana on the end. And this is in 1984.
Yeah, there's a lot of the jokes that come out of the blue. What about the joke where they're telling Nick to get out of there? And they said, Nick, you better get out of here or your life will be worth less than a truckload of dead rats in a tampon factory. What the fuck?
Yeah. It's brilliant.
Love it.
The East Germans decide that Nick must perform to avoid an international incident, and he does so to the rapturous joy of the local girls. He is rescued by Hillary at the end of his performance, after which they spend the night in the loft of a Swedish bookstore. Nick plays for her, and they have sex.
So I'm famously, Gene, not a fan of any kind of musicals.
That I know.
I will top Disney movies. I'm okay because it makes sense. You use it to progress the plot.
They're animals. They sing.
They can talk also. So yes,
Yeah.
I'm okay with the beasts, whatever, lions, whatever you're singing. I'm fine with that. But in comedies, I hate it. I hate Mel Brooks for it. It kills momentum. Every time we get a Mel Brooks movie, he's gonna do 3 or 4 songs that go on far too long. The plot stops. The people generally can't sing. Top Secret, it goes the complete opposite, and it avoids those traps. Skeet Surfing is not just a parody song. It is a good song. It's a jam. We were listening to it before we recorded. It is a good song. Then they follow that up later on with Spend the Night with Me when he gets that young girl on stage, that uncomfortable moment. It goes even further. So this is a romantic ballad. He's on stage, he's wooing these German girls, and it escalates from him gyrating and wooing these girls to suicide gags. He's singing about what would I do without you if you're not with me. And he goes over and he puts a noose around his neck. And they're like, no. And then I think he tries to stick his head into an oven. He then lays down on the railroad tracks. It's getting progressively dark and just funnier and funnier. The songs are tight. They're memorable. And they actually serve a point besides being a banging number, but also it progresses the plot. And I think sometimes when the action slows down, it serves as a pick-me-up and it transitions to the next exciting set of wild encounters that these guys are going to get into.
If you're a viewer like me and you don't find like suicide jokes funny, like I get uncomfortable even when people do the gesture like blowing your brains out, like when people are like, oh, blow my brains out, or at work, like people do like the noose, thing, or pantomiming slitting their wrist, something like that. I don't think that's funny. I know people who've attempted suicide. I know people who've committed suicide. I don't think it's funny. That being said, in this movie, the way it is done, it is like an homage to James Brown used to do it all the time, right? Like he'd be walking away with the robe, and then he'd come back on stage. He's fighting. It's the joke is the 4 guys that are with him, right? That are keeping him from doing all the things, and then you get to progressively ridiculous stuff like the railroad tracks. And so they find ways to make these jokes palatable, inoffensive, and just wildly imaginative. And Big D, I famously am a fan of musicals, and I agree that Top Secret just did a fantastic job. And they captured the energy and the hallmarks of all these Elvis movies that I grew up watching on cable. So when I was a kid living in Arizona, we only had one cable package available. It was MTV and all the stuff. And I think it might have been on AMC, but they showed a lot of Elvis movies, especially on the weekends, like during the day. And so I saw, Roustabout and Viva Las Vegas and all those other ones. And those musical numbers, they have a feel to them. They have a cadence to them. They have a grandiose nature. Top Secret, clearly they were taking notes on this, or somebody was a fan of Elvis movies because they nailed it. And sure, these days we have the occasional La La Land, but largely we don't have this sort of a musical with 20 dancers on screen doing a thing and a song that gets stuck in your head. And when the world is just sort of crumbling around you, it feels really good to see some singing and dancing. I started to understand as an old man, like why my mom likes to watch The Voice and doesn't like shows with plots. Like, just give me some singing and dancing.
Yeah, I think the movie does, and I'm glad you said that. The movie does capture this, the grandiose nature of old school Hollywood films. And Lucy Guthridge, who plays Hillary, she's fantastic. She looks like she could have been a star from the old vintage Hollywood movies of the 40s and the 50s. She has a classic Hollywood look that I have to admit, I thought she was gorgeous. I thought there was something about her presence. I can't believe she didn't become a bigger star. I mean, she had a relatively successful, career as an actress, but everything in this movie felt very genuine to the films. It wasn't just a cheap knockoff. There was a quality to it that I couldn't put my finger on at the time.
You know, she's a bosom that defies gravity.
And it also lights up like E.T.'s fingers
It does.
when she becomes aroused.
I think it's time to address the elephant in the room, which was Top Secret and Airplane, right? They're related, they're close cousins, and I've got to say that Top Secret is a superior movie. And I know that Airplane has all the accolades, it's on all the lists of funniest movies of all time. You've already made the comparison. For me, in one word, it's imagination. Airplane, those jokes were the cynical type of comedy like your bowling uncle would come up with, right? The uncle that you don't really like to hang out with that much is kind of mean. He thinks he's funny. Top Secret is the other uncle. It's your acid munching, like far out uncle who's very, very chill, maybe lives in his van. These are his jokes, okay? Cousins, but one is more creative. There's Top Secret's got Val Kilmer like slapping bicycles and having them run off like horses with horse noises. They look down from a ledge to see the city below them, and clearly it's little model cars. And for some reason, they've just got tiny mice running around. They shot an entire scene backward. And when they're describing characters or introducing people, you get these lines like, Klaus is a moron who only reads the New York Post. It's so specific. It's so much more loose and just fun loving a movie. The vibe for me is with Top Secret. I love it.
So I just want to make my allegiances clear here. I think Naked Gun is a superior film. The Naked Gun to me it has so many. The original. Yes, the original I love. I mean, there are so many moments in that I think it's also because of the performance of Leslie Nielsen and all of the serious actors. And I loved it. But this is far better than Airplane for me. And it's the little moments that, again, you might not notice in another film. So Nick's getting interrogated. It's after the German detective or whatever, the officer had been killed in the ballet. And there's a moment where Nick, he's disgusted and he spits into the face of his interrogator. But he spits, and it's like a 2 or 3 or 4 second beat before it actually hits the guy in the face. It's a noticeable delay. This was an intended subtle joke that the timing was off. And for me, I'm like, fuck, okay. They're doing little nuanced jokes. And you talked about here, or I think also Rob said, the backwards scene. You are not doing this justice at all. This is a dedicated scene. This film, we have to admire this, okay? There's no reason for this. They're going to meet their contact at a Swedish bookstore in East Germany. You open up with the proprietor of the store. He's looking in a magnifying glass. The joke is then he takes away the magnifying glass and his eye is that big. I'm like, all right, there's not going to be anything special in the scene. No, this whole scene is magic. It is filmed in reverse. The dialogue is delivered in reverse. The blocking, the physical comedy, everything is in reverse. The characters are sliding up the poles. Dust is being blown back on the books. Items and books are being thrown back up into the bookshelves. This is it's impressive. I don't know how long it took. I couldn't find any behind the scenes documenting. The concept is bold in a parody film, But for it to feel genuinely original and well done like this, Mel Brooks wouldn't have done this. Can you imagine dedicating this, Gene, to practice this so that everything makes sense forward as back? This had to have been 3 days of shooting, 4 days of shooting for something that wasn't necessary. So I got to commend them.
And it's not just technically amazing, thematically and the execution, it's so smart because the oddity of the scene, it creeps up on you incrementally and gets increasingly noticeable. Like at first, like you said, the guy's got a big eye. Okay. And then you're like, oh, the joke is that he's talking backward. And then you start to think, okay, something's weird about their locomotion. And your brain is starting to catch on that like there is a bigger thing at play here. Then if you didn't notice that, okay, now the books are flying. Val Kilmer is throwing them in the air and they're flying all the way back into the shelf. And if you didn't notice that, then they're sliding up a pole. And finally, they're like, okay, if you still haven't gotten it, there is a dog that spits up into its own bowl and then walks backward across the screen. Like, okay, clearly this was shot backward. It's so smart. And it's so, they didn't have to give us this gift. Yeah. Nobody made them do it. They chose to.
It was unnecessary. I thought at first it was just a gag on them on Swedish, that they were doing like the Swedish chef. And then you realize, no, it's the voice backwards. But I started to think, what makes a memorable comedy? You know, what are the movies that stand the test of time? And I think it comes down to the movie can't rely too much on the pop culture and political references. And this movie touches on it, but it's not over the top because that risks aging it. When we did, what movie did we do? Was it Young Frankenstein? There was one that we had done that they were doing some jokes that were topical for the film. It had to have been one of the Mel Brooks movies because it was like the 70s. So it was either maybe Blazing Saddles or Young Frankenstein, one of those that we didn't always get the jokes. And that dates it. We get the Ronald Reagan joke about actors becoming politicians, the Publishers Clearinghouse, I got to get this in the mail, or the Ford Pinto exploding when the German, like the truck hits it. Those specifically tie this movie to 84 or around that time. But when a comedy can focus on universal funny trends, focus on the human condition, like you said, George Carlin was a very great observationalist. He would make jokes, even Seinfeld. The common things, that's where it becomes powerful, and I think it's long-standing. It's much better to have a joke about misunderstandings or awkward moments than it is about easy just references to what's going on, you know, at the time, or even referencing other movies like The Great Escape and the bike jumping. I appreciate that this movie focused on true comedy that extends past just the time of the film.
I wasn't planning on talking about this, but you just struck a nerve with me. So many people wrote in after we did The Untouchables, and they kept pointing out that De Palma was doing homages to other films, like other great classic films, and he was inserting those types of scenes or that sort of blocking or a shot for shot, you know, recreation of something in The Untouchables. And I was like, yeah, that's great, I guess, if you're a film student and you've seen that other movie, but it doesn't mean it's a good movie. Like, it just means that you had an idea and you executed it, and that's fine, but I wasn't necessarily entertained with it. Where here, there were homages to, let's say, Elvis movies, but even if I'd never seen an Elvis movie, the song is still catchy, the dancing is still cool, like the jokes are still funny, and I think that's really critical to give it, like you said, that timeless quality. And I kind of like a joke that I understand and Sarah doesn't. Like the Pinto joke, she didn't get it. Like she knew that the Pinto caught fire, but like not with the reputation of the Pinto. Publishers Clearinghouse, didn't know what that was, right? And I kind of was feeling like, oh, I'm like a product of the 80s. I know my shit. And then they referenced Mel Torme. And I honestly struggled to remember who Mel Torme was. And I looked him up and I still don't remember him. Do you remember Mel Torme?
No, I actually had to go and look because I was afraid that Mel Torme was the waiter. I thought they were making a Mel Torme joke right there. So I was like, shit, I got to go look this up. No, I did not know it was him. But what about Leroy Neiman? Did you get that joke? where they said it was like torture or something, like a Leroy Neiman painting?
No.
I had to go look him up too. He's the guy who he had the big giant mustache where he looked like a supervillain, and he would paint portraits, but it was like very vibrant colors. And I guess it was a commentary on just that he was a bit of a hack. I think he's popular now. He's an American artist. He used brilliant colors and expressionist paintings.
So it'd be like the modern day equivalent of a Thomas Kincaid joke.
Again, she got me.
Master of Light, Thomas Kincaid?
No, I don't even know who that is.
Oh, buddy, I'm buying you one for Christmas.
Oh, good. They can't be that expensive. Is you're getting me one? Or is it a
I actually have
reprint?
no idea what they cost. I think you used to be able to buy them at the mall. I don't know. If anyone's got a Thomas Kincaid, mail it to us. Host of Shatpod.
Oh, wait. Is he the dude who did like the Bob Ross paintings? Like
they were always like
they're
cabins
trees and
shit.
landscapes and shit.
It'd be like a lot of like snowy cabins.
Yeah, he's got a cult following with like white people, with boomers.
Better yet,
it is. It's a white people artist. It's like shit my parents would hang up.
Send us pictures of your Thomas Kincaids. Let us know that the stereotype is wrong. The next morning, they are moved to the potato farm where they meet members of the French resistance led by Nigel the Torch, who was Hillary's lover from when they were stranded on an island as youths. Nick is upset by Hillary's love for Nigel, but he accepts that they must work together for the cause. After fighting off an attack by the East Germans, who were tipped off by a mystery traitor, they move to a pizza restaurant where Nick proves his identity by performing for the locals. So at this point in the movie, we're starting to feel like Top Secret might be slipping into a sort of formula. Nick will encounter trouble, he'll do a song, we'll laugh it up a little bit, and then we move on, rinse and repeat. But the movie does something different here. It treats us to this infusion of fun new characters that get the movie going again, right? These are the members of the resistance. You got Nigel, who's still wearing like his Blue Lagoon outfit for some reason. Like he's shirtless, he's oiled up. It's fantastic.
The teeth necklace.
Yeah, the teeth necklace. So he's wearing what he was wearing in Hillary's flashbacks from like, I don't know, a decade before. And instead of using these characters for just this 1 minute gag of French words and foods, like everybody's name is it's déjà vu, it's croissant. That's what Airplane would do. Top Secret, it engages in a little character development. They get to like do things and have identities and say things. They have actual personalities. They have combat specialties, and they get to be heroes in their own right while they're interacting and connecting with Nick. It made the movie so much better. In fact, that I was willing to forgive naming the Black Fighter Chocolate Mousse. A very, very Mel Brooks move.
Yeah, but you skipped over a couple of the other great ones. What about Déjà Vu?
Déjà Vu. He was my favorite. He looked like my uncle.
And I love the way they all look at him. He's like, oh, I feel like I have been here before. It's so stupid, but you're right. They do. And Latrell. That is Latrell. It is spelled Latrelle.
Oh, no. Who are you talking about?
Oh, I thought that was Latrell. I thought that was another one of them.
Oh, maybe that's another guy. Right.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Was there Pate?
Yeah, Pate.
Yes, unexpected and funny. I like them all.
Of course, in Latrine, who shows up in every scene, he's always injured with a head injury, and he always comes leaping in from off screen. It's brilliant. The resistance group stages a rescue of Dr. Flamand, where Nigel and resistance leader Ducroix dress up in a fake cow outfit to disable the prison's defenses. While the other members successfully infiltrate the prison, Nigel reveals himself as the traitor just before his plans are ruined by an amorous bull. Dr. Flamand is rescued, but Nigel makes off with Hillary and Nick is forced to rescue her in an underwater bar fight. With their flight about to leave, Hillary chooses to go with Nick and her father to America. Rob, you mentioned it. When I saw Nigel and Ducroix put on that cow suit, I was ready to be annoyed. This is a very 80s thing. It's the classic movie climax with some elaborate prop that's never as funny as the studio intended, right? People would talk about it in the 80s, but it doesn't really stand the test of time. But Top Secret totally flipped the script on me. Instead of a shitty-looking cow disguise with two guys fumbling around in it, they just put boots on an actual cow. And then they had the actor's voiceover, which, by the way, Ducroix he's French. The cow says, mew. It looks great.
Dude,
It's so much funnier.
It's not just that they spray painted the cow with polka dots. So it is a real spray painted cow in boots.
Yeah.
I want people to get the vision.
Yeah, but that's all the questions. Why do they spray paint it? Why are they talking so much? Why is the cow wearing boots? Why is Nigel's dick in an udder? It is perfectly goofy and just a great way to round out the climax of this movie.
But why in the 80s, right? Why was bestiality kind of cool? You talk about the penis in the udder, right? In Trading Places we had where at the end, the guy who is the investigator who has the orange juice report, right? They lock him in a cage. He's in a gorilla suit with another gorilla, a gay gorilla, because I assume he grabs him and starts to rape this character. And we were laughing. I remember in the 80s, people thought this shit was hilarious. Here, Nigel, he gets sucked off by a calf. The calf is blowing him as he's trying to deliver lines. And he's telling Duquois, hey, what is our rush? Slow down here. Leave it alone, right? Then you get the bull mounting and raping him from behind. I'd like to say that we've grown. Do you think still, Gene, that bestiality when's the last time you saw a character in a comedy either be raped by an animal or rape an animal?
First of all, I don't think I've ever seen one rape an animal in a comedy. But Gene Lyons, animal sex lawyer, I guess, I should clarify that an animal having sex with you is not bestiality. Bestiality is the criminal act of having sex with an animal, like the human having sex with the animal.
No. What about enticing an animal? If I was to put peanut butter on my penis, to lure a dog over to lick it.
Well, I'm not saying the licker or the lick-y. I'm saying that if you are willingly, consensually engaging in a sex act with an animal, then it's bestiality. If a gorilla is raping you, you're not committing bestiality. You're being raped by a gorilla.
But
okay.
But here he's not. But here he's a willing participant. Here he lures that calf.
Well, he does not lure the calf.
Does he say, Duquois, quickly, we must run away? No.
Again, that's not luring.
He encourages it to begin. He wants to climax.
He didn't pay it after or anything.
You think his dick just happened to go into that udder? Hold on. You think his dick just happened to be in that udder?
I mean, it had to go somewhere.
Did you have to design it into that suit?
It's canon because Hillary measures his dick earlier in the movie and it's like 9 inches long. It's got to go somewhere. And he doesn't have pants.
So that means his dick, I'm looking at the cover art. I'm looking at the poster. Yeah. His dick was out of the suit. His dick was hanging out a hole as one of the udders.
There you go. Not his fault. I rest my case, Your Honor.
Not his case.
He might be guilty of indecent exposure at most, not bestiality.
Gene Lyons, animal lawyer.
Thank you. Cue the music. A big deal. I might have spoken too soon because although the cow scene is the prime joke of the movie, we do get a climactic fight. After all, this is an action comedy. And a lot of action comedies flop when it comes to the final fight. They do a great job at the comedy part, but they sort of just fall into normal action movie when they get to the final fight. They just give up on the comedy. I'm thinking about like Crocodile Dundee, Howard the Duck, Hudson Hawk. Like those fights at the end, they're not really funny. They're kind of muddled. It's not really good action, but they're trying to kind of paint by numbers. Top Secret has a twist so good that I feel bad, like even spoiling it. Like we normally don't care about spoiling movies here, but I feel like enough people might have not seen this movie, and it's so good and so unexpected. I don't feel like I should share it.
No, you have to share it. And it just popped into my mind. The one great unexpected over-the-top set piece from Mel Brooks was Blazing Saddles when they break the fourth wall. And the actors and stuntmen escape the Old West into the back lots. I think this is on that level. And if anybody, what are we talking here? 40 years, Gene?
Yeah.
If you're not spoiling anything. If anything, you might get people to watch it.
If you don't want it to be spoiled for you, fast forward a couple minutes to get to the wipe scores, but we're going to do it here. You've got Val Kilmer, and he's fighting Nigel. So Nick and Nigel, they're fighting, and they go over a bridge. They are wrapped up with each other, and they go off the bridge into the water. And you think that it's going to be like, maybe one of them, maybe they go full shoot to kill. And like one of them just shoots the other one or punches them, drowns them, whatever. Or like it's a comedy and it's absurd. Maybe a shark shows up and eats one of them or a crocodile or something. No. That's not what happens here. They get to the bottom of the ocean and they're fighting and it turns into a full-on saloon brawl. And I'm talking, there's the classic, like he gets punched, he falls over to the bar. The bartender pops up from behind the bar because the bartender is down there at the bottom of the river, cracks him over the head with a bottle. It breaks. There's the cowboys playing poker at the table. And when Nick finally, spoiler alert, wins the fight, he puts on a white cowboy hat, of course, and he moseys on out of the saloon doors. And there's even a bar girl who's like, bye, goodbye, like with bubbles. It's complete. It's so good.
You remember we talked in The Abyss about the dangers of filming underwater scenes? So now you've got the week's worth of shooting for the Swedish backwards scene. You've got now here is probably 2 weeks. What did they spend on the safety divers? This is a full enclosed underwater bar. There's singers, there's people placing orders. This movie went over the top. And Gene, what about you? We didn't even talk about it. When they're planning the prison infiltration, right? And it starts off with a stick in the dirt, drawing the plans, and it breaks out into this elaborate scale model of the entire landscape. It like cows, the fence, a working train, the walls. It is this movie. When it thought it was worth it for a gag or a joke, they went all in.
Rob, 2.25 wipes. Are you out of your mind? What is wrong with you? Now it's time in the podcast to give our Shat score for Top Secret. The Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes the movie takes to get off your respective bums. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's an anal intruder for the wife. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a film. It is a truckload of dead rats in a tampon factory. I'll go first, Big D. It is really hard, I should say, before I give my wipe score, for a parody film to be 0 wipes. By its very nature, it's going to be a bit corny. It's going to be a bit dated with references. It's going to be unable to capture that perfect flow and structure of a perfect movie. But Top Secret made me laugh harder than anything has in a long time. I was embarrassed at how loudly I was laughing and how uncontrollably I was laughing. I have to give this movie half a wipe.
So for me, I think I'm feeling torn here. Comedies like this usually get better the more you watch them. When you're prepared for the joke, so you can truly appreciate it, you can sit back. Even on a first viewing for this in 40 years, probably 30 years, I think it's better than average. I don't think it's that perfect, but I'm going to stick with, I think 1.25 wipes. I'll make it better. I was going to go 1.5 wipes, but I think 1.25. Val Kilmer, his first leading role, was charismatic. There's an earnestness to his delivery of the lines. Far better than later on, I think he does Real Genius. And there he's a bit arrogant. He's more Hollywood. Here, he is just this genuinely likable actor and delivers a performance, I think, that's exceptional. The supporting cast, the entire French freedom fighters. We didn't even touch, Gene, about the East German, what were they? The weightlifters, or what were they? Who presented the awards? What were they?
The women's weightlifting team?
The gymnasts or whatever. Performances were great all around. Set pieces were funny. They're in the poster.
East German women's Olympic team.
Right. It looks like the Expendables. It looks like the cast of the Expendables in drag. Movie's far better than it deserved to be. I think 1.25 wipes.
All right, with 1.25 wipes from you, Big D, and half wipe from me, that gives us an average wipe score of 0.875 wipes for Top Secret.
Wow, that feels a little dirty. Okay, we're going to go with it. The 0.875 wipes. That now ties us with some big films. We might get some pushback here. Field of Dreams, The Untouchables, Sideways, Dead Poets Society, How to Train Your Dragon, the animated film, and Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah.
Dude, it's...
I laughed thinking about the scenes we were talking about. That says something, because that's a rare... We did that with like Cable Guy, I think with Dumb and Dumber. You know, it doesn't happen very often. There are comedies that we have watched that I thought were funny in the moment, but as I was describing them, it did not make me laugh. This movie, it was so vivid in my head.
So I'm going to flip it. Instead of saying what really worked, I can't come up with a joke where I was like, I wish they didn't do that. There was no
Val Kilmer,
stupid jokes.
Val Kilmer's on the rug at the pizza place, and he spins around so fast he saws through the floor.
But the song made it, Gene.
Well, also they saved it because then he comes in. He comes in through a totally. He also comes in through a totally different door, which is great. Like they saved it, right? Like it's the music's still going. Like where is he? And then boom, door opens and there he is. Like
the Cut in the Rug song, I liked, so I didn't even notice that. The only one that I think they went on a bit too long was the trying to escape the cell, and he goes into one vent, comes out the other, comes out the ceiling. That was so telegraphed, but other than that,
there's something for everyone to enjoy. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Big D. Before we go to next week's movie, I want to take a moment and ask the audience, please write in at host@shatpod.com or call and use the SpeakPipe feature. I presented to Big D an idea before we recorded about the opportunity to have advertising on the pod. We clearly don't do this for the money. And more importantly, we would never want to ruin the experience for a commissioner who has spent their hard-earned dollars to get a commission done. But at the same time, we do have an opportunity to essentially double the income that the podcast is having, be a little treat for us, maybe a little treat for Elias, the intern, as well, who's been doing an amazing job editing these podcasts. And that would involve running one ad at the beginning, 2 ads in the middle, and 1 ad at the end of the podcast. It's fully automated. It's basically easy money. But again, I'd love to hear from you guys about how you feel about it. I personally, when I listen to podcasts, don't even notice the ads. I just fast forward through them. But I definitely don't want to ruin the experience for you guys. So if you want to let us know, I'll put a poll up as well. Just test the waters and see what you guys think about running ads on Shat The Movies.
Agreed. And that was one of our core beliefs, was we didn't want to like paywall anything.
No.
But not everything's, everything's, the prices only go up to keep hosting and processing and technology. So yeah, let us know, because in the end, we care about what you think.
I think another part of it is, and this, I swear, guys, this is like pure honesty coming from Gene Lyons here. I feel like in a way it legitimizes the work that we've done, to be like someone would actually pay to put their advertisement on our podcast. Now, don't get me wrong, the commissions already let me know that to a core group of hardcore listeners, like we mean something to you guys, and I can't thank you enough for giving us that. I guess for me, it's like I can go to my grave saying, yeah, remember when Hymns paid to put an ad on our podcast?
Yeah, and also I think as long as we don't change the format, if somebody would choose to advertise on us, it would have to be a very special product. Like you said, dick pills, vaping, probably some
dogweed,
yes.
Yeah.
It would be something along those lines. I can't imagine that. I would not want to change the format or worry about upsetting people. So if somebody has the courage to meet what does our audience need, Gene? Probably,
gosh,
the anal intruder, sex toys, yes. I think
Pepsi Zero.
Yeah, Mountain Dew Code Red. I think I'd be open to it. So let us
jobs with Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Hey, just make sure you read the contract. Those bonuses might get hard to hit.
Yeah, and listen, we can always, if it sucks, we can always just turn it off. So it's not a big deal. But anyway, let us know. I'm really curious what people think, honestly. And don't hold back. Like, let us know if you think we're fucking selling out. That's fine too.
Yeah,
I'd love to know.
Also, if you have any commissions, send them in. I think the wait now is only like 6 months. So we're 6 months ahead. So you can get them sooner than you expected. We're burning through them.
Nice. All right, Big D. Speaking of commissions, what do we have coming up next week?
Gene, I'm perfectly aware of my flaws. And in my filmography, my knowledge of 80s and 90s films, next week is a glaring hole. I have never seen this film, and people, you have iconic actors. It is what turned Arnold Schwarzenegger from an action star into a legitimate comedic talent. And I've never, ever seen this film. I've never seen this or Junior. So next week, the products of a genetic experiment, fraternal twins, Julius and Vincent, are separated at birth. Their mother, Marianne, is told they're dead. Now Vincent, an unscrupulous street hustler, ekes out a living in Los Angeles. Jules is raised by a scientist who grows up humble, intelligent, and strong, but very naive about the world at large. While Julius learns of his mother and brother, he heads to Los Angeles to find his family. Commissioned by Dylan D. Came out in 88, Ivan Reitman. This is surprisingly, man, only a $14 million budget, but this is a big one, and I've never seen it.
I have not seen it since I was a child, so I look forward to viewing it again. But I remember exactly where I saw it. I was visiting my aunt's house in California, and it's my first memory of a trip to California. And we watched this movie, and it was just this great moment of, probably like, back when you had there were like 10 family members all in the living room watching the same VHS tape. It's another one of those where my childhood memories could be crushed, or I can have a very warm and heartfelt reconnection with a young Gene Lyons. So we'll have to wait and see.
So this is PG. So it was a family movie?
I think so, yeah. I mean, well, listen, when I was a kid, nobody in my family gave a shit about what the rating was. I watched Bonfire of the Vanities. I watched Witches of Eastwick. I watched Basic Instinct, all that stuff. So I don't really know. I think Terminator. Wait, I definitely watched Terminator. Was that an R? Was Terminator R?
Yes, Terminator. Yes, it was. Not.
Yeah. So yeah, I watched a few R movies, I guess. That's what I'm saying.
These are the films that shaped our generation.
Yeah. Thank you, Dalen, for commissioning our upcoming movie. Thank you, Rob, for the month of Rob H. Thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat The Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat The Movies. You can email us, host@shatpod.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, where everywhere fine podcasts be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next time for the following movie.
They were creating the perfect man. But something went slightly wrong.
I have a brother. I'm a side effect.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito are twins.
Born to be bad.
Only their mother can tell them apart.
The moment I sat down, I thought I was looking into a mirror.
Twins, rated PG. Starts Friday, December 9th at theaters everywhere.